On this episode of Crime Scenes with Coffee Beans, join me as I take a deep dive into the case of the extramarital affair that turned deadly. Coming up right after this. Hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Crime Scenes with Coffee Beans. I'm your host, Belinda Brady, and welcome, everyone. I am so glad you're with me and keeping me company while I talk to you about true murders in Australia. Every crime I discuss, every murder I discuss is true and they're real and they're awful, but we are going to talk about them. So welcome and thank you for listening to my little one-woman podcast. Now, real quick, as I do every episode, let's have a look at my stats. Let's have a look at where you people are listening to me from. So first up, we have Australia, then coming in second, New Zealand, and coming in at number 3, the United States, followed by Singapore and Turkey. Wowee, guys, Singapore and Turkey, welcome aboard. I hope you're enjoying my podcast. And I also want to say, at the time that this episode is airing, the craziness of Christmas and the New Year should be behind us. So whatever you got up to, I hope you had a good one and I hope you got to spend it doing what you loved with who you love. Now, let's get stuck right into the podcast, shall we? So, this episode is titled Stupid Me, the death of Maria Korp. And my sources for this episode are sydneymorningherald.com.au, news.com.au, heraldsun.com.au, Austilie, and I'll spell that AUSTLIIEDU.au, and abc.net.au. Now, of course, what am I drinking? I am drinking because this is the whole premise of my podcast. I drink coffee or caffeine while I'm telling you about this crime today. It's cool enough for me to have a hot coffee. So I'm having a black coffee with Belgian cookie syrup. I've tried something new and I don't know if I like it. It's got a bit of a funky taste to it. So I'll persevere. I have to. I have the bottle. I have to drink it, but anyway, hasn't got me straight away. So, watch this space. And whatever you're doing, however you are listening to me in the car, at the gym, having a sneaky listen at work, listening while you're settling in for the night. Now, I hope you're caffeinated. I hope you're relaxed. I hope you chill. Let's go. Let's get stuck right into it. Stupid me, the death of Maria Korp. Now, affairs happen. It is a cold, hard reality all of us know. And at some point in our life, we will know at least one person who has either had an affair or been the victim of an affair. Or we might even embark on one ourselves. And for the most part, affairs are life-altering. They can make or break relationships. Mostly they break them, destroys friendships, destroy family. And for some of us, they are life-ending. And this is the case for 50-year-old Maria Korp, a woman whose husband of 14 years embarked on an affair which ended with Maria being found in the boot of her car, strangled and clinging to life. Maria was born Maria Matilde, and I hope I have said that properly, and she was born in Portugal, Spain on the 14th of January 1955. She came to Australia from the island of Madeira in 1976 as the 21-year-old bride of her then husband, Manuel de Gus. I hope I have said that correctly. The couple welcomed their daughter Laura in 1978 and the family was a happy one. Maria loved her husband, loved her daughter, loved her life here in Australia until Manuel died from a heart attack in 1987. Now, this left Maria a young widow and a young single mother. And when Maria met Joseph Korp at her workplace, he was her supervisor at the South Pacific Tyre Company in Somerton, Victoria. They hit it off. Joe was a smooth talker. He was a good looking guy. They hit it off. Joe had also been married and he too had children from this previous marriage. So the two had a lot in common. They hit it off and the relationship grew. And the pair married in 1991 with their son Damien coming along in 1993. The blended family lived in a lovely sprawling home, one that Maria helped shape herself by working as a labourer. So she actually helped the labourers build her house and she worked as a bricklayer or another, as we commonly call them, brickies here in Australia. She worked as a brickie when they built their house. Now, the house was built in Mickleham North, which is a suburb in Victoria, and Maria's family said there was not one brick that Maria hadn't carried herself. So she helped build that house from the bottom up. And from what I could gather, I really couldn't find a great deal of information, but from what I could gather, Maria and Joe's marriage was up and down, like most of our marriages are. But for the most part, they were content. But not long after Maria and Joe moved into their dream home, things began to dissolve. Now, Maria suspected Joe was cheating, or at the very least looking to cheat, and she wasn't wrong. Now, the year was 2003 and the internet was in its infancy. Online dating also was relatively new. We didn't have Tinder or Plenty of Fish or whatever other dating apps are available. We did not have mobile phones where we could just swipe right on who took our fancy. We didn't have any of that. So if you wanted to meet someone, you still had to go out and meet them, go to a bar or go to a pub or a nightclub, meet them in person. And if you did want to go down the online road, you only had a few options to choose from. But Joe did. He found an online dating website, and through that website, he met a woman by the name of Tanya Herman. Now, Tanya, who was a single mother, clicked on Joe's profile picture, and his profile went by the name of Joe Bonte. Now, the pair met in Echuca, which is a really pretty little town in Victoria, and that's where Tanya lived, and she showed him around, showed him the sights. The pair then drove to the nearby river and they had sex in Joe's car. And this was the start of a full-blown affair. Joe would leave Maria for weekends on end. Like every other weekend he was off, and when asked where he was going, he would say he was off for work commitments when in fact he was just going to see Tanya. Now, they didn't live too far away. They lived in the same state and maybe an hour or so away from each other. Now, so he was taking off to see his affair, Tanya, every chance he got. Things had gotten so bad at home with Joe and Maria that she took out an intervention order on him, and I couldn't find out what was happening. I couldn't find out any of that stuff, but things were so bad. She was granted an intervention order against her husband, and the intervention order stated that Joe was not to assault, harass, molest, threaten, or intimidate her. Maria also confided in her daughter that she thought Joe was cheating. Maria's niece, who was living with the couple at the time, also backed this up, saying that Joe was acting funny, and she thought this was around the time the affair started. She moved out, leaving Joe and Maria in the same house together despite the intervention order. Maria's niece also thinks Maria had confronted Joe about her suspicions, because on the 31st of January 2005, Maria's picture was posted on a swingers website saying, "Happily married couple looking to have fun with another lady or couples. Looking for a woman or couples who would like to relax in a friendly atmosphere, and if the chemistry is right, have some real fun." Now, the photo that was used of Maria was one of her family photos. So someone close to her got that photo. Maria's niece said there was no way in hell her aunt would have posted that. No way. Her aunt was not that kind of person, and one of Maria's friends confirmed this, saying she was jealous and she would never have been involved in something like swinging. It was around this time that Maria gave a friend her notebooks and her suspicions and evidence of Joe's affair, such as bills and receipts. So she's given this evidence and Maria's thoughts and suspicions to a friend to keep safe. And I'm guessing she's done that in case something did happen to her down the track. Meanwhile, Joe had his fling, Tanya, wrapped around his little finger. She was beyond smitten with her new man. She was head over heels in love. And when he promised that they'd be together, she believed it. She thought he would leave his wife, they would get married, they would set up house, they would be a happy little family. Joe complained to her about his marriage constantly and told Tanya that he only stayed in his marriage because if he's left, his wife Maria would hand over something incriminating to the police about Joe. Joe controlled what Tanya wore, who she saw, and she even used his last name when she signed a new lease, when she sold her house. So Tanya was that into it, that dedicated to this man. She sold her house to move closer to where Joe lived. She even sent her daughter to the same school as Joe and Maria's son and listed Joe as an emergency contact for her daughter. Now, amongst all this, Maria has decided she's had enough and she's kicked Joe out. But for whatever reason, one Christmas Eve, he went back to her. She took him back, but that was when a plan began to take shape between Tanya and Joe. Joe told his lovesick side piece the only way to be truly out of his marriage would be if Maria was out of the picture. He told her, "You've got to get rid of her for me. I want her strangled. I want her dead." Now, Tanya didn't want to go along with this as, initially. She didn't want a part of it, but she was that brainwashed, that in love with Joe. She would have done anything for him. She would have done anything to be with him. And she did. On the 9th of February 2005 at around 6 a.m, Joe drove Tanya to the family home, apparently telling her, "How much do you love me? Are you going to show me today?" He also told her, "You've got to do it for us." And his parting words before he left her in the garage to lay in wait for his wife were, "Don't let the bitch come out of here alive," before kissing her and telling her he loved her and heading off for work. Tanya waited for Maria to come to her car and take herself off to work. She was wearing a bathing cap and balaclava, cotton gloves, and a pair of Joe's shoes to cover her footprints, and she had a strap in her hand. When Maria appeared in the garage, Tanya lunged at her from her hiding place and got the strap around Maria's neck, but Maria resisted. She put up a fight. She screamed and she struggled, fighting for her life, and Tanya held the strap tighter until Maria eventually went limp and started bleeding from the nose and the mouth. Certain she was dead, Tanya lifted Maria up, put her in the boot of her own car, and started driving to the city. Now, at one point during this drive, she heard Maria gasping for air from the boot, but she ignored it. She parked Maria's car at the Shrine of Remembrance, the place where she and Joe used to meet for sex, and left it there. Now, again, she heard moaning coming from the car, but again, she chose to ignore it. She went to her brother's place, told him some bullcrap story about how her car had broken down, and she got him to drive her home. Now, Joe's brother Gus reported his concerns about Maria's safety to police when she failed to pick her son up from school. And that same day, when questioned by police, Joe said he saw Maria at around 6:30 that morning before he left for work. Now, when the police asked him if he knew of anyone who might want to hurt his wife, Joe replied quickly and simply with one name: Tanya Herman, the lady he was having an affair with. And naturally, police were sus right away. Now, Joe insisted it was a brief affair and he had ended it months ago, which, as we know, is a lie. So Joe threw his dedicated "I'll do anything for you" lover under the bus to save his ass. And when police paid Tanya a visit, she confirmed no, the two were still very much seeing each other. The affair was far from over. For the police at that stage, their main priority was finding Maria alive. It was early in her disappearance. Every minute counted, so they wanted to get out there and find her. And find her they did when 4 days after she went missing, a security guard noticed her red car, her red Mazda, at the Shrine of Remembrance just where Tanya left it, and called it in. When police approached the scene, when police arrived on the scene to Tanya's car, they were hit with an all too familiar and an all too ghastly smell as they approached her car. And the smell was out of a decomposing body. Maria was found in the boot, her frail body bruised with dry blood on her nose and her mouth. Detective Narelle Fraser, who was on the scene, was overcome with pity for this woman. She did something not many would do. She actually climbed into the boot of the car with Maria, saying, "I just wanted to hold her hand and comfort her." She looked so helpless and alone laying there in the back. There was something inside me that just flicked, and I did it without thinking. It was a very human thing to do. In that moment, it was what I had to do. With the state of Maria, with the decomposing that had already started to kick in, it was fair to assume that she had already passed away. But then something happened. When Detective Fraser climbed into that boot with Maria, she couldn't find a pulse. So she put her head on Maria's chest. She was amazed when it suddenly rose up and down. Maria was breathing. She was alive. She was alive, but barely. Police could barely believe it, but they knew time was against them and they had to act fast. An ambulance was called and Maria was rushed to Alfred Hospital, where she was placed into a medically induced coma. She was suffering head injuries, severe oxygen deprivation, and extreme dehydration. And as a result of her injuries, she would remain in hospital for up to 6 months, clinging on to life. But sadly, she would never regain consciousness again. But I'll get to that in a little bit. Police were suspicious of Joe from the start. And when Tanya found out that he had dropped her in it, she told the police everything that had happened, telling them when they arrived on her doorstep after Maria had been found, "I'll tell you everything." She told the cops Joe had provided the strap she used to strangle Maria. She told them that he said to her, "I don't want her coming out of there alive." And when asked by police if she had any ill feelings towards Maria, Tanya replied, "No, I never met the woman. I never knew her." Police then charged both Tanya and Joe with attempted murder, conspiracy to murder, and they both appeared in court and were remanded in custody. Tanya pled guilty straight away. She rolled over on Joe like he deserved, and she told them everything. She told them all about her and Joe's affair, his involvement in the attack on his wife, the planning of it. But Joe pled not guilty, vowing to Fight it all the way. Tanya became a prosecution witness and was sentenced to 12 years with a 9-year non-parole period. She was sent to Phyllis Frost Max Security Jail where she served out her sentence. Joe, on the other hand, was ordered to stand trial. He was released on bail. He still said he was innocent. He was even given the opportunity to visit his wife Maria, the one he wanted dead, while she was in hospital. Now, like I touched on earlier, Maria clung on to life for 6 months. But on the 26th of July, it was announced that the treatment that was keeping her alive would cease and Maria would pass away. Meanwhile, anti-euthanasia campaigners threatened legal action, saying that it was an inhumane decision to turn off her life support, turn off the machines that were keeping her alive, even though she had not regained consciousness in those 6 months. So the man who made the decision to turn off Maria's life support, a court-appointed legal guardian by the name of Julian Gardner, stated that he spent several months who's talking to people who knew and loved Maria to find out, what her beliefs were and what her wishes were if she was ever in that situation. And though many of them were against the turning off of her life support, including Joe, he apparently changed his mind. A lot of them changed their minds after they visited her and saw her state. And once it was very clear that she wasn't going to be able to live without, the support of machines, they changed their minds. And Maria's daughter, Laura, indicated that even though it was a heartbreaking decision, she did not oppose the decision. Maria Korp passed away at 2 a.m. on Friday the 5th of August 2005, some 6 months after Tanya Herman had strangled her in her garage, and not quite 2 weeks after her life support machines had been turned off after she was found clinging to life in the boot of her car. A week later, her funeral was held, which was attended by around 300 mourners in East Brunswick. Her 2 children read out to the congregation and doves were released. Joe was forbidden by Maria's family to attend, so instead of that, he bizarrely invited media to a private funeral where he sang Unchained Melody and The Lady in Red. That night, he contacted his first wife and a journalist, messaging her saying, "I'm going to join my beautiful wife. I can't live without her." Police were contacted and they rushed to Joe's home where they found him hanged in his garage. Surrounding him were photos of Maria, football memorabilia, and a letter to his daughter Mia, his daughter from his first marriage. "Mia, oh my only daughter, I have loved you and cried for you all my life. It was nice to see you and become close again. Please forgive me for leaving you again. Please understand about love. I found it and lost it with Maria. Stupid me." And another note was found in which Joe wrote, "Fuck all those who thought I was guilty. Where's the justice? No fucking evidence." On Valentine's Day 2014, Tanya Herman was released from jail 9 years after she tried to kill Maria Korp in her garage. She was picked up by her partner at the time, another female called Nicole Muscat. The two met in jail while Nicole was serving time for stealing from a pokie machine venue that she was managing, and the two hit it off and had applied to be married while they were in jail, but that request was denied. Now, Tanya has shown remorse for her actions. In 2012, she was interviewed by a magazine called the Australian Women's Weekly, and she said that she was a bloody idiot and completely brainwashed by Joe. She also said, "I am still amazed myself and think, how the hell could I have ever gotten in so deep? My biggest regret is taking a mother away from her children because I would hate that to happen to me. Since Maria's death, a telemovie has come out about it, as always is the case with high cases like this, high interest cases like this. And in 2010, Maria's daughter was critical of it, saying that no one had considered her feelings or her brother's. She also said that the telemovie, which is called Wicked Love, was appalling and depicts sex and swinging, which was nothing at all like what had happened. Nothing at all. I hope that Maria's children are able to think of the good times that they had with their mother, and I hope those memories can carry them through the hard times. I hope that her memory is a blessing. And really, guys, we have no winners here at all. We now have a mother, Maria Korp, who has passed away for nothing. We now have a husband, Joe, who took his own life after, I guess, realizing you don't know what you've got till it's gone. And you have the woman who was so brainwashed, so deeply, I guess, in love with this man. She agreed to murder his wife, who now has to live with what she's done for the rest of her life. We now have 2 children who don't have their mother. We have a family who don't have their daughter and their aunt and their sister. It is just a massive, big mess. And for what? For what? It's just awful, and I will never understand. And we hear these stories all the time. It's not a one-off. It is a constant occurrence where there's an affair, and the only solution that these people think there is, hey, we need to kill our partner or your partner. No, just leave. I'll never understand it. Never understand it. I'll never understand that mentality, but I guess that's what separates us from them. And that's it, guys. Another episode done and dusted. Thank you so much for listening. I can't tell you how much it means to me. You can subscribe to me if you want to hear ghost stories, if you want to hear Australian spirits, Australian spooks, Australian ghosts. If you think Aussies can be awful, wait until you meet our ghosts. They're next level. So I would love for you to join me so I can tell you some awesome ghost stories. You can buy me a coffee. You can send me a text. You can send me a message. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on TikTok. Don't be shy. I love hearing from you. And until next time, guys, stay safe, stay cool, and stay caffeinated. I will catch you all later.